I'm Brigham Larson with Brigham Larson Pianos, and I want to do a side-by-side comparison of two pianos that I love. Two phenomenal pianos. I've worked on many of both of them in my 23-year career now. They're both awesome pianos. It's about as big and as good as you can get in the world of uprights. Both of them, the Yamaha U3 and the Hailun HU7P, are the biggest pianos that these companies manufacture. And like I said, I'm a big fan of both of them, and they sound great. So let's start just by playing a few chords on and listening to the bass, listening to the midsection, hearing the upper treble. There's the Yamaha U3. Bass of the Yamaha U3. Okay, now here's the bass of the Hailun 7P. Midsection of the Yamaha U3. Finally, the upper sections. The Yamaha U3. And the Hailun 7P. Okay, so some background on both of these. I've worked on many hundreds of Yamaha U3s, and as I mentioned a minute ago, I'm just a huge fan of Yamaha. I love working on them. I love playing them. I love the way they sound. The Yamaha U3 is actually kind of the big brother of the Yamaha U1, which is billed by Yamaha as the #1 best-selling piano of all time. And so if people ask me the difference between the U1 and the U3, generally my quick sort of 10-15 second response is that the U1 is a great piano. It sounds great, it plays well, it endures for a long time, and the U3 is just kind of bigger and better. That's kind of the quick version of that. It just has more height, bigger soundboard, therefore, and longer strings, therefore more bass, richer tone, and you have maybe a slightly enhanced color palette to choose from. Surprisingly, the U3, when I have a handful of U3s and a handful of U1s in the store here, the U3s actually go usually quite a bit faster than the U1s do. The Hailun 7P is the biggest Hailun that is manufactured. They can actually do both, where the middle pedal is a mute rail, as well as they can manufacture with a sostenuto pedal, and which is a feature generally that you only see on grand pianos, but you occasionally, especially on upper end pianos, you see it on uprights. Worked on many 7Ps as well. This is kind of their premier upright piano. I would venture even as far as to say that the 7P, as far as just the bigness of tone of the 7P, it rivals their smallest grand piano, the 151. It's just that big and powerful. Both of these pianos, what I'm hearing, I don't know if you're hearing in the video here, what I'm hearing when I play them in person is both have that power, that richness that I want, out of a big piano. I mean, I want it out of all pianos, but you only really start to hear it out of pianos this size. And you can actually see that the 7P is actually slightly larger than the Yamaha U3. So it's definitely that size of tone on smaller pianos, 45-inch pianos or 46-inch pianos. It's definitely absent. I start to hear that kind of powerful tone that I want, that access to the richness, starting at about 48 inches, and the bigger the better. The bigger the cabinetry, the more the designer has to work with, the more rich and pleasing the tone. And I actually heard once, or I read probably very, very early in my career, it was probably within a year or two of starting, that if the piano designer had the cabinet, didn't have physics, I guess, to contend with, and was able to design a piano that's ideal, where no compromises in the design were made, that the piano would be 50 feet tall, or in the case of a grand, 50 feet long. And so in grand pianos, where you kind of get to the point of diminishing returns, where you really can't hear much of a difference, about 7 feet, or even better, a 9 foot. That's the biggest pianos are manufactured, although with some exceptions that do get even bigger. Uprights, this is about it, about 52 inches or so. In the past, 100 years ago, you got pianos that were even bigger than this one, but that really hasn't been the case since about 1929, after the Depression started. The biggest pianos that you see now are 40, 50, 52, or even bigger with the 7P, which is partly why I love them so much. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about the cosmetics. The Yamaha U3 is just kind of a classic design. It's a very pretty, easy to like. The cabinetry, pretty standard look. Just looks like a Yamaha U1. The Hailun 7P has a little bit more ornamentation, and I think it's just a very regal looking piano. It does have this music desk that comes out, snaps into place there, and then if you want to open that up, this folds down just like that. And it also has the slow fall fall board, a little bit different design in the fall board as well. Okay, then let's look at the inside of the both pianos. Both pianos, by the way, on this demonstration that I'm doing here, both pianos have the middle pedal option, where they lower this little felt right here, and then it locks, so the hammers actually strike the felt before they strike the strings, which quiets down the tone quite a bit. And this piano has that feature as well. And as I mentioned just a minute ago, the 7P is also manufactured with, rather than having that mute rail feature, it has the sostenuto pedal, and there's the feature on the U3. Okay, for me, termination point is a big deal. That's something that a lot of designers talk about, and what that is the singing portion of the string, where it starts and where it begins. So on the Yamaha U3, you just have the plate that is sort of sized and rounded as the termination point here, and also up in the tenor and treble range you have the same thing. Then on the Hailun 7P you have A-graphs, which is more usually used on grands, kind of a higher end feature. And then up here through the tenor and treble range you have you have this brass rod that is kind of it's carved into the plate, and it's kind of nestled in there, and so that's the termination point for the tenor. And then up in the treble they use a steel rod instead, which gives a very precise termination point. Both actions are a pleasure to work on. Both sound, or the touch on both is really, really pleasing. I do prefer to work on the Hailun action. It's a little bit more responsive. I can get a little bit more precision in the touch, though not to take away from the Yamaha U3, which is great also. So I guess let's just finish up. Oh, and then one more thing, and then I'll finish up with a quick song. The key bed on the Yamaha U3 is a wood key bed, kind of traditional thing, and the key bed on the 7P is an aluminum rail, which of course will not change dimensions ever. Okay, well let's just play in real quick. So two phenomenal pianos that I've worked on many of both of them, and have great respect, admiration for both manufacturers. My final conclusion is that as a piano player, what I would prefer, if I were to buy one of them, I would definitely choose the 7P. Just a much bigger, richer tone, which is what I like. You can also play very sensitively on both, just because they have both have that massive size doesn't mean that you can't play sensitively. A little bit also more nuanced. Great touch on this. A little bit too light for my personal preference. This piano, I feel the Hailun, I feel like I can really kind of sink my teeth into this one more, and just like I've got some substance under there in the action. So there you have it, side-by-side comparison of a HU 7P Hailun with a Yamaha U3. Thanks for watching.